because it's not come on for me. I think it's just...
It's on for me, I think. Everybody can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, welcome all. Okay, hi, yes, we're just saying hello, so you haven't missed anything at all. Well, will we make a start with the Monday board, and then we can have MD who's got any other kind of business, or does anyone want to raise something first because they're not going to be here? Jenny, have you got anything pressing, just in case we don't get to you?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly a couple of things that it'd be worth us just trying to bottom out. I suppose there was a question around sort of the increase in outages that we seem to be having, and wondered if there was any kind of information around that, and maybe just to dig in a little bit around failover, because it seems to be that the suggestion most of the time is not to go into failover, and quite where that decision kind of, for us to understand, I suppose, a bit better about why or why not, and what that looks like.
Okay. I don't know, Maggie or Kerry, if you've got any information more on... I don't have anything on the increased outages that you've already been told. Or that's...
So I don't have
Maybe
any,
it's that I'm now getting the notifications which I weren't getting before.
Yeah. So I don't have any more information on the outages, just apart from what's coming out on the emails, but hopefully everybody should have had the email test that went out. So if you've not received an email in the last, was it maybe a week, 10 days, that said, hi, this is just a test, then please let us know, because we're just trying to ensure that our mailing lists are up to date and that everybody is receiving the emails that should be. In terms of the outages, it's either contained in the content of the email or on the service delivery desk. I don't have much more details about what's the ins and outs of them, just that we are trying to be much more reactive with our notifications. So before, you may have had a small, slow kind of system downtime for 5 minutes. We wouldn't have sent out any notifications about that in the past, but based on feedback, we're now saying, trying to be proactive with that to let you know if it's been slowness or there's been a slight issue over that time frame, and then what the actions are to rectify that. So on the service console, for every outage, there is a full report that you can read and have a look, and it will detail what the issues are underneath the, what's the tab called? It's called, it's under, is it the system? Nope, hold on, let me just find the right tab. Be more prepared.
I thought it was on the front.
I think one of those examples that we'd had was actually just before we'd had our sort of pre-meeting, and there had been, like you say, a notification saying, we hope this is back and running in 5 minutes, don't go into failover. And then there was quite a longer gap, and then again it was, and so we were kind of in limbo, I suppose, and didn't feel that it was like, actually it might have been easier for us just to bang into failover at that point and not just sort of sit in that limbo land. Don't know, Yasmin?
So I'm happy to come in here with failover from what, obviously, previous when I first started in Badgernet, obviously I worked alongside service delivery and engineers. I find that all the comms that come out regarding failover are definitely communicated with the engineer, and that service desk always ask the engineers, is failover recommended? The reason why failover going is rare is because it then can have other implementation, not implementations. What's the word?
Implications.
It can then impact other things. Yes, implications, that's the word. So that is why basically failover is not used unless it's going to be something that's going to be, a long fix, like as in talking like hours, because then what they don't want it to happen is they don't want it to then basically slow down or affect other things. So they try to resolve the current issue they have as quick as they can and as managed as they can without having to have implications on anything else. And that is why. So I always know from kind of our internal company chat that obviously the service desk analysts and these are always asking regarding is failover recommended, and then the engineers will come back saying at this point no. And that's kind of how the comms go out. That's as far as I know, kind of knowledge wise. But I know it can have implications on other things.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's helpful for us to understand from our perspective, and it does feel like there's kind of a reluctance sometimes to suggest failover when we're like, actually, even just being able to view records, we felt would have been, even if we didn't write to the records, if we went into failover, so we could at least access what's written, because it's about somebody coming in and not having the previous entries made or being able to take that information, even if we didn't make an entry. One of the midwives suggested that wouldn't necessarily have the same impacts, I guess, as failover and then it having to resync. Don't know whether that makes sense.
I would certainly always recommend in a clinical, and I know this isn't going to be the case for all issues, but if, for instance, in acute care, all the patients who you're looking after, and if you are using iPads, is to download your patients and always have them in offline mode so that you can use, you know, in the off chance that anything does happen, that they're there, just as good clinical practice. I would recommend that. I appreciate that doesn't help in all situations in terms of, you know, out doing community appointments or, you know, in your community
kind of
or
bits,
community
really.
sentence, or somebody who's just called in, you know, for, as you say, for a triage at that moment in time. But if we can, you know, anything that we can do to just, you know, try to increase good practice within those, and, you know, the outages and the sort of the security around the system, I know is got a lot of sort of retraction just now, with a main focus from all the sort of engineering teams that are, it's kind of our platform team that work separately and don't really have anything to do with BAU as such. So they don't have anything to do with, you know, any changes that we submit or any config engineering around any of that. And they are looking at sort of security and increasing and doing lots of you know, changes to improve and bring on board. And I think, yes, Sandy referenced some of that information when he was at UserCon. If you weren't there, you know, we can try and get an update for that. And I think as well as also ensuring that you're all having your sort of service delivery review managers with your account managers and the service delivery team. And if you're not having them, that they are available to you, and that's with the service delivery team that can be, you know, monthly or bi-monthly, where you are reviewing the sort of level of service, and that's the purpose of those calls. So if you aren't happy with the level of service that you're having, then I would suggest contacting service delivery. You can put it on the console and just request that you want a service delivery sort of, you know, I can't remember, what are they officially called? Jackie, Kerry, do you know? It's just sort of like a service delivery review call. I think if you were to add that, they would know what you were meaning, but you're all entitled to have them as existing customers. So I would also say, you know, go for that, and they will be able to inform you around much more of the nitty-gritty of what happens on the service delivery and the downtime that they're having, and the work that's also ongoing in terms of what are they doing to resolve some of those. I feel like we've not really answered much of your question, but we can go and find, you know, more information out. But I think popping in those service delivery calls in addition to our sort of clinical call would probably be beneficial for you.
I've got certainly one that's titled Badgenet Service Review.
Yeah, a service review, and it's normally with sort of, that should usually be with sort of yourself, maybe heads of department, you know, your service delivery sort of leads. It's a kind of different network of users who should be attending those meetings. But pop it on service delivery and ask if you can have one, and, you know, the recommendation on who you should be inviting. And again, you can have them as a regular meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Yasmin, your hand's been up first.
I didn't have a lot to add to that because Jenny was kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say, but it was just to kind of add to that and say that failover just seems like a very underutilized tool, because it was kind of sold as this, you know, if, in the event that something happens and there's problems with the national server, like, you know, you've got this backup and it's great. And I totally get what you were saying, Kerry, about the knock-on impact that can have, and that if it's not recommended unless it's something that can be a couple of hours fixed. But I think it's that thing of even after like 15 minutes, you start to feel a massive impact in the units. So I think it's maybe getting that a better understanding of what is the knock-on impact of going into failover, because you might not be recommending failover, but if I'm on the ground and I'm knowing that actually today's a hellish day anyway and this is causing major issues, I'd rather just go into failover and deal with that later on. I would maybe make that decision, but I think it's maybe not having that knowledge of what are those consequences going into failover. So it would be good to get a bit more information about that to help us then make those decisions. Because yeah, we can go against the recommendation of what you guys are saying and say, yeah, failover, but it would be nice to know what that then means in the long run.
Okay, we'll see if we can get a more kind of detailed kind of feedback on that and give you some greater kind of insight into it. So we'll take that away as an action to get you a kind of wider explanation. And hopefully that will help.
I suppose it's about sharing that, like, you know, they're making a decision, those engineers are making a decision based on thinking, right, it's going to take us this long. But like Yasmin was saying, like the reality of the impact of how fastly paced a lot of these wards are, like for them to understand what that impact looks like for us as well as the customers. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just writing myself a note because see if I don't write it down. One of those ages. Morag, your hand was up next.
It should be just along the similar vein, but I suppose it's just turning its head. I think what would be helpful is if it came out saying, we recommend you do not go into failover, rather than failover is not recommended. Because I think there are times when you might recommend we do not go into failover because that's going to cause major issues at your end. But actually, or it might be in other cases you're saying, well, we're not recommending failover. And I think that's there's a slightly different slant there. You're saying we're not recommending failover, but actually, as Yasmin says, we might say, well, you're not recommending, but we're going to go for it anyway, because actually we're already having a knock-on effect to how much scans we're scanning departments backing up, and we kind of get them through them, which is different from you saying to us, if you go into failover just now when we're trying to fix this part, you're going to break us. And so I think there's a little bit of difference there as well about, is it a case of it's not recommended or we're recommending you don't? I don't know if I'm explaining myself very clearly, but
yeah. So well, my understanding is you're saying we recommend you don't go into failover because, and rather than we don't recommend you to get into failover. So there's more of, this is why we're not recommending it at this time.
I think
it helps us to make a decision, doesn't it?
I think it's a case of, is it an absolute, you should not go into failover just now, because if you go into failover, that's going to cause an issue with us trying to resolve the issue, is different from, we would prefer you don't go into failover because it's going to have a knock-on effect later on. I think there's two, to me, there's two things there about whether or not it's, it's dangerous to go into failover compared to it's going to cause us hassle later on at some point.
Okay. Okay. What's next on your list, Jenny?
It was about making sure that we'd got access to all the Monday boards. We were sort of having a discussion around not knowing quite where some of the groups were, or specialist groups, and that maybe we didn't always have representation on some of those, and that maybe the best way to do that was to give us access to all of those Monday boards, and that whether or not, and with the meeting dates and things all published on there, so that as a team we can divvy up and make sure we've got representation. I think there was concern around, like if there's user groups and we've not got any Scottish representation on those, and things are going via sort of votes and what's the most popular or the most sort of required change, but we've not got any representation on there, that there might be a bit of imbalance there, and we would feel that ideally that we've got somebody sharing our thin bit of capacity out as effectively as possible, I suppose, amongst those sort of user groups and things.
Do you have any examples though of user groups that you don't already know about, that
well, you don't know what you don't know, do you, until a change comes out, and then we're like, oh.
All the user groups are on the Mondays board at the bottom.
But all the user groups are there. I'm
Yeah,
wondering which ones you
right.
think you've
Okay.
not been told that have been there. Yeah.
I think an
Certainly.
example was the perinatal mental health group that I think was it Morag, you kindly shared a list of invites, and I think we found that a lot of the people that were on the invites, it was old email addresses, or some boards didn't realise that they didn't have anyone represented. I think is the example I can come up off the top of my head.
Yeah, because I think all the user groups are there, but it's not necessarily got a list of the membership, which can be quite tricky to then find out. So you might be on the user group, but I might not know who from my board is on it.
Can I suggest that you submit to us a list of who should be on each of those user groups, and then we'll cross-reference with what we've got and remove and add as required as an action? That'd be great.
Yeah, because I was going to say
the groups.
Yeah, I didn't realise that bit was right at the bottom of our. Is it the bottom of our board, Scottish Digital Midwives board? Is that where? Am I right? Am I looking at the right bit?
Yeah, that's there. The
Yeah.
groups.
Because the last fetal medicine group meeting was the 5th of October 22.
Yeah, there's some of them that don't seem to always get updated. Because there's been a couple that I've not heard about that in a while, and I go and look and I'm never sure if that was the actual
So
last
what
date.
normally happens is they're updated on the board. So if there's so for each one of those lists that's on the user group, if you get your contacts as to who should be on them and email them to us, we will ensure that the right people are on the groups, and then the dates of the meetings and those extra items are on those specific group boards. Instead of having to update 10 different boards, it's just an efficient use of time. So if you think you should be on all of those boards, then make sure your name is one of those contacts for all of those user groups, and then that will mean that you've got all the information that you need.
Sorry, and just to add, some of them don't meet every month or every couple of months. So some of them actually do meet only quarterly. So that's probably, if you see some meeting that was like happening several months ago, that's probably where a set of meetings, they are usually clustered around the preparation to release and what is taken as a theme for a release. And then they have a gap.
Yeah, that's right. So for instance, anaesthetics was May release, so they met, but they hadn't met for nearly 14 months before then. So it can be right that there is, we can have up to 18 months in between each user group, which would be acceptable in terms of the roadmap and the programme of work within there. So it's not that they're every month. It is around, as Tanya's rightly said, the roadmap. And I think the roadmap should be included on the board under information at the top. Is it there? But if it's not, we can make sure the roadmap's included in there. The roadmap's also on the front page of the service console, which will let you know when the next user groups are running as well, or what release those user groups are going to be focused on.
Morag?
It's just a bit of practicality round about timings as well. So having just been at the perinatal group, perinatal mental health group, and have commented on some of the stuff, but not the chance to comment on everything, because I've had the group, then got people together in our board to have a discussion about what we felt was right, and I've updated some of it, but then run out of time and haven't got back to it. So I suppose I'm just aware that there's not necessarily a lot of time between that meeting and then coming back for the feedback meeting. So I just wonder if there's a chance that we could have slightly longer between maybe that initial discussion and then the follow-up meeting, just basically for us to be able to go back and speak to people in our boards and have that meetings would be really helpful. I don't know how practical it is from your point of view, but for ours it would be helpful.
We can feed it back. It's obviously not just myself and Jackie that run user groups, but Tanya, maybe perhaps you could take that back to, when you're planning the roadmaps. I know you're very good at keeping us up to date and chasing us of getting our meeting invites in terms of when it's coming up for the roadmap. So if you want to chase us a bit earlier, then happy with that, and then that will address Morag's point.
I'm really, really sorry. That's very rude of me, but I was actually replying to a message. So could you, so it's keeping you up to date with what's upcoming, or in terms of the roadmap, or?
No, so it's just you doing your product management very well as what you normally do, but just chase us maybe earlier for ensuring that we've got our meetings for our user groups and our diaries earlier.
Do you want to say I'm basically chasing people a lot?
No.
In a nice way.
No,
chase them a bit earlier.
To ensure that we get what we need to get in the system. So yeah, that would be great. If we all keep each other accountable, then surely we'll get there eventually, but we'll take that on board, Morag.
I will, no worries.
The other bit was about VMT, which I'm sure we'll cover when we start going through the Monday's board. Is there anything else from the team that you thought of from our last meeting? I think that was all I'd got my notes on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Wait to find your board. Oh, Morag.
I think there was something as well, Jenny, had we not spoken about who's who in System C? And I think it's what you've just said there just now, Maggie, round about the service review call. But it's like, who do we contact for different things? I suppose if we are wanting, if we've got certain queries, maybe about different things that you're not the person to come to at that point in time. But who is? So I'm thinking about our
just all be direct to the service desk, Morag. Just onto the service console, and the delivery team will field it out to whoever they need to be.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Okay.
Is there a bit of a kind of organogram that we can, or is that just for your purposes, for us to understand who does what where? Because I know I've gone through a bit of it with Jackie because I didn't quite grasp who was who and what was what since the changes happened. But
so I think in terms of for you guys, it either goes to service delivery to fix, which was the same as it always is, or to us as clinical specialists to the product team if it's a change or a bug. And if you're requesting new interfaces, it would go to the interface. So there isn't much of a difference as to who it would go to. It's really only just one of 4 teams. So, you know, if it's any issues with the system, then that sits with service delivery. If it's a bug or sort of high risk clinical change request, that will go to the product specialist. So Sue Lambert and Carol Rogers, who you probably all are aware of. If it's around sort of clinical suggestions, you should ideally bring that up on your monthly calls with myself or Jackie. And then we can either field that into a change or suggest that you raise that on the service console or give you a workaround. And then if it's any new deployment work or new interfaces, that would be a request through service delivery, and that would go one to interfacing to be sort of specced and costed. And then once that's agreed and there's a sort of process, if you want to proceed with that work, you'll then be allocated a project manager or a clinical specialist that will then continue out that work. So in terms of who it goes to, they're kind of your sort of 3-4 teams that you would be liaising with within that. I mean, we can draw something up, but we don't have anything that kind of shows any of that just now.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right. I'm a visual person, that's all. I'm like, trying to map it out in my brain. Right, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Right, Monday board. Right. Okay. I think, Kerry, you had put a bit on about the new meetings and published the dates.
Yes. So basically, we sent out the kind of 2024-2025 meeting dates for you guys. Then I think there was maybe one of you that didn't have access to the previous meeting. So I think actually when I looked at it, I think Outlook, obviously because I work it from a template, I think Outlook had obviously had a bad day of my setting up. So there was like the odd person I could see kind of missing. So I went through them all. I've added everybody back in, so everybody should have access. But what I've just done is I popped the meeting dates on the board if anybody comes across that they don't have access to that in their diary, just give me a shout and we'll make sure you're on. I just thought that was the kind of easiest thing to do.
Okay, thanks, Kerry.
Thanks, Kerry.
Okay, this was something we kind of raised a wee bit of time ago and kind of fed back about slow or poor communications, and hopefully the kind of actions we've taken of late, so sending out the test to make sure everybody's getting notifications, and Maggie explaining that we've increased the frequency of those will improve that. I suppose it's really kind of watch and wait. So let's see if our new process is working for you. If it's not, then we've given you the kind of processes of how to raise that. And if you're looking for that kind of monthly or bi-monthly service review, that option's there for you to request. So hopefully we are kind of being proactive about improving our communication with you in a more timely manner. So we can maybe revisit that at our next bi-monthly meeting and see if that's improved. If it has, then we can close it. If not, where are we falling short? You can give us some feedback on that. Okay. Contraception changes. So we have the change case. We are aiming for 64. There is a discussion that we have to have internally. It's on a shortlist for 67. We have to refine that shortlist. So probably we didn't know what was on the shortlist till today. So that's a discussion we will kind of have. So we're still hopefully having it 67, but probably able to confirm that in the next day or two. Morag.
I just really say that I've added a comment onto this under the change request and on the service desk as well, because I had a meeting with the Scottish contraceptive group, and there's some length of time that the hormonal around contraceptive devices can stay in for has changed. So I've updated that, so it's just so that you're aware of that. And the other thing is we should have a change request in hopefully by the middle of June regarding reporting round about this as well. We're just kind of pulling that together, but we would obviously put that in as a separate change request.
Okay, I'll take a wee look at that and see what amendments have to be made. So we'll probably be able to feed back on that. We'll probably just kind of put it on the board once we know whether it's in or not, but it's certainly on a short list.
Yeah, and it's been estimated, so engineers looked at it, so we got a solution for that one now. We just need to, as Jackie says, to confirm.
See. Best start reporting. Jenny, is there a letter for? I had a letter on postnatal continuity.
No, I think that I did. I didn't add it there. That's quite a long time ago. January. Okay, yeah. I obviously haven't uploaded it there. It will be via email. Let me remind myself. Yeah, because they changed the goalposts slightly, hadn't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Postnatal continuity.
We'll just say
5 months later. We'll try and remember to do what she said she was going to do.
Right, okay. Moving on then.
I'll take the nudge.
Margaret's not on the call. Margaret was going to share the reporting measures. Again, it's been outstanding from the beginning of the year, but I haven't heard anything from Margaret. Maybe drop her. Well, no, just drop her a message to see. Okay, so we'll just ask Margaret a question. The blood loss and volume, we've moved that to for discussion within the anaesthetic user group, I think, Maggie, is where we moved that to. The anaesthetic group. So I think that's kind of setting just as part of their kind of change requests. On blood loss and volume changing to that, changing.
Does it not already calculate the volume of blood loss?
There was something different about it.
So Julie's the one who knows all the information about this, but where
Sorry,
it
I was,
actually
like,
comes from.
Desperately trying to find my mic there and like flick it down to.
Yeah.
I think it was to do with how it was calculated and what was taken into account, and then we had a wider discussion around maximum allowable blood losses and what units were using them, and was that a function that would be good to sit within Badgernet. But I think we did agree that it would move to the anaesthetic user group for discussion there.
Okay.
Because I had kind of said how we kind of calculated it.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's their kind of expertise. It's not something this group would decide a change to.
Okay.
Well, no, that's why we'd thought it'd be good to go through to the anaesthetic team, because the one that Julie uses, the Mabels, the measurable allowance, also takes into account your HB as well as your BMI, so it kind of is a bit more personalised within that.
No problem. I'll have a chat with Callum about it, and then we can
tolerance.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I was also going to take it to the Scottish patient safety people as well, because I thought we could do with their involvement, if that's, because it kind of goes along with the deteriorating patient driver that they've got.
Okay, and it was just to raise awareness. We were sure that you're all aware, but the new Scottish patient safety changes for what was the new data measures on the compliance temperature in breast milk less than 34 weeks instead of the previous less than 32. So before we generated the change request, it was just to kind of let the group know it had come to us and we were all going to progress with that as a kind of national. Is that okay? So excuse me, I think there's. Can you give me just 1 second, Maggie? Can you hold that chit chat for a second?
I can, but I don't know what she was going to say about it.
So I think it's for everybody to review and feedback on the requests of the updated data measures. Okay. I think Jackie has put everything there, so I think it's just for everybody to review and feedback before the change request is made.
So can I just confirm that this is a new change request for a preterm perinatal wellbeing package? Is it going to be a new note? I feel like I'm being silly.
I'll let the expert come back there.
Sorry about that. I was expecting paperwork that I needed to sign for. Right. Sorry, what did I miss? What was the question?
Sorry, Jackie, Julie just had a question regarding, will this be a new change request for a new note within Badgernet?
No, it's just a change request. Currently, PPH is now being measured as 1.5 litres and we do 2.5 is the current measure. So that would be a unit report changing rather than a new note. And the new data measurement for breast milk less than 34 weeks for the first 2 days instead of 48 hours instead of the previous. Currently we report in 24 hours after birth. So it was new data reporting measures rather than a note per se. Maybe.
Yeah, it was me that put it in. I was just going to say that as well. It's in the unit reports for
So the PPH one's in the maternity one, and the other one is in the preterm perinatal package as well for the neonatal one. So it's just a change request because they've just like changed it a little bit. It used to be 32, now it's 34. Used to be with breast milk within 24 hours. It's now within 48.
Those will be 2 because we won't do the change request for the neonatal.
And then they just
so it's the PPH one will be the maternity change.
Yeah.
Okay, so no objections really. It's really just all we were bringing it to the group just to let you know it come in. Therefore, have we got one for? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Anything on leaflets, Kerry?
Just to let everybody aware, I met again with Public Health Scotland 2 weeks ago, I think now, or maybe just short of 2 weeks. And we've updated the National Library for the summer of 2024, so we've removed anything winter related, and went through the whole library kind of with them and what was recommended to be there nationally. So you will see on the National Scottish Library Review, I've popped the new one, which I updated. Sorry, it was the 22nd, so it was a week ago. On there, there is a couple of changes that we did make because there was a couple of old PDFs that were in there, and actually they're trying their hardest to go more to URLs so that it's always keeping the current version. So we did change, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 within there, but you'll see the whole list on the Mondays board, and we'll review it again kind of autumn time when we start to get into the new kind of winter season. So we're trying to do that kind of twice a year with them, so it's done for the summer. But apart from that, Jackie, no?
Thank you, Kev. Yes.
I just wanted to pop a wee question. I'd put a comment in before, Kerry, that you'd replied to about putting it in different languages. I think your reply had said that the comment goes to, so generally it'll go to the Public Health Scotland page. It's got all the different translations, but I had a quick look today, and that's not the case for all of them. Some of them take you straight to the leaflet. The one I had looked at was the Ready Steady Baby Vaccines and Pregnancy. It takes you straight to the leaflet rather than to the page where all the translations are. And also we had a quick discussion about it at our last meeting, just to say on the app it says there's a little note at the top saying leaflet only available in English. So if I was a woman who English wasn't my first language, I wouldn't even bother looking to see if it had translations because the app's telling me it's only available in English. So it's just that could be a bit confusing.
Yeah, so obviously with PDFs that go on to the library, obviously they're just in the language that they're put on. The majority of the URLs that are on there, and you'll see obviously from the web view, will take you to the website, which then has other translation views. Obviously, we're only publishing what Public Health Scotland are telling us to publish. All I would say is that if there is a PDF on there or a URL that you want, then obviously you can then put that into your local library. I think the reason why we condensed the National Library was from when I first came on the leaflet part of it, everybody felt there was far too much on there and there was lots of different versions. So one leaflet then had 10 versions because it had every single language in it. So I think that's why we tried to get to the URLs. But if there is anything specific on there that you come across that doesn't have the translation, then obviously the option would be that you could put the translated versions on your local library, so that you've got them for your site. Or the other thing is let me know and I can communicate that back with Public Health Scotland when I next meet with them in the winter to say that it would be good if they could look at that for kind of their resource. But obviously I don't have any kind of say on, I can only obviously just feed that back to them. We're just going obviously by what they're recommending and what they're kind of putting out for the kind of summer and then for the winter.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I quite like the new translation thing. I think it works really well, and I think it has stopped it from looking really cluttered where you've got lots of them of the same one, because you can link them all as this is actually just different languages of this one leaflet. So I don't know, in my mind it would work quite well doing it with the PDFs now, to have the different ones now that functionality is there, but it would be good to know what everybody else thinks about it, if anybody's had a chance to test it and see what it looks like.
Just to, sorry, I'll go next.
Okay, Jenny, do you want to go?
Yeah, it was just to say that I'd also met with Public Health Scotland as well, and there's a new pertussis training module coming out, but also leaflets which they will send on to Kerry in advance, because the information that we're providing to women and birthing people will be different, because it is a triple vaccine, not a quadruple vaccine, that's going to be once we've used up the old stock, I think is the plan. And I did also mention about RSV, which they've still not made a decision about whether or not it's going to be maternal or neonatal vaccination. So they're aware that they will have to, I think there's some work happening in the background about that, but that might also need to go out as a national change. So yeah.
That's perfect, Jenny. I can add them once they've been in contact with me. It's not a problem. I think the whole URL thing actually takes away from the whole getting the error message when you go on. So do you know, when we first started looking at the library, that's when we decided to move more to URLs, because what it's doing is, if Public Health Scotland are updating the URL, we constantly have the right web link. When if they're updating the PDF and it's an old one, then what the women are getting is that error 404 message. Remember, we've talked about that before, and obviously that is obviously something that obviously then stops them being able to look at the leaflet. So I do think having the URLs and having the websites are definitely the way forward, to be able to let the women always have the most up-to-date version, rather than them sitting as PDFs. There is, as I say, there is a couple of things that just aren't URLs that are sitting there with PDFs, but majority are now sitting with URLs.
It's a really tricky one, because I think you can't win either way. But would there be any capacity to then, even if it's exactly the same URL that you add for the languages that are available, so it takes them all to the same page, but it just then means in the app they're not getting that message that says this leaflet's only available in English? Because I just think that's going to stop them from actually going any further than that. They're not going to click on all of them just to see.
Yeah. So what the only thing what we can do is that if you're in the app, then obviously you'll have the name of the leaflet, and then you have the little bit of description at the bottom telling them kind of what the leaflet entails. So the only, if you're happy and you'd like me to do that, the only way I could do is probably in the first line of there say that this leaflet is only available in English, or I can put the option of, other translations.
So that message does reflect the fact that this leaflet is only uploaded in English. So that message is correct.
But it's not necessarily correct that that's the only leaflet available, because the link's taking you to a website that's got multiple translations available, but on the app it's telling you it's only available in English. So you're not going to click on that link, because you're going to be like, well, it's only available in English. What's the point? I can't read English. Whereas if it had it in your language, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'll go and click on that and read that. I just think we're putting up a barrier to women they're thinking that information's not there when it is. So that suggestion, Kerry, but maybe putting it just in the description of
send an email, Yasmin, of examples that you've came across, because it's something I've never really spotted actually before. But drop me an email and then I can have a look at it, and we can probably the option is we write it in the description. So if there is a leaflet out there that is only available in English, from the minute they look on the leaflet library, they would straight away see that there's actually no point of going into the URL because it's only available in English. But yeah, unless anybody's got any other suggestions, I'm happy to do it. I just think obviously if we add them in every single language, because it's the same URL, it'll take you to the exact same place. It won't take you to the Arabic version of the leaflet. It'll take you to the list of what is displayed in different languages. And then obviously it then goes back to the previous issue we had with looking big and clunky and a bit of a mess, really.
I'm so sorry, Kerry. I might have lost it there. So, could you explain why does it take to a list of like different languages? So if
this is the national leaflet library, Tanya.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Rather than it being local.
Oh yeah, got you.
So it's the Scottish national leaflets that come out from Public Health Scotland.
Okay. That's okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about recommended reading for a second. That's fine.
But no, happy to take any feedback or suggestions. But Yasmin, send me a couple of examples, and I can have a look into them. Not a problem.
Will do.
Thanks, Kerry. Nothing on the priority list? No. Okay.
I think we were still working on our list.
It's fine. You know it's there to add to when you get to your.
We've got a spreadsheet. It's not that there aren't any, is what I'm saying.
It's on our agenda for when we meet in person next week to all work through it together. That's
fine. Is the priority then check request? Is that on your agenda then as well? Because I'm assuming this is not. I think this is just how we've added them. So,
yeah. Can you move them up and down the page so that they sit or do we just rag rate them on there maybe? Oh, we got the votes. We can do the votes, can't we? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you can move them up and down.
Yeah.
Okay. You can vote. Okay, so we'll come back to that then. The next one. The Pulse Oximetry and the contraception are the two change requests that are on your kind of national board that are on the shortlist for our kind of discussions to see for 67. So they're the two that we're trying to progress. Both are quite large change requests. So I'm not promising both, but we are trying to negotiate. Part of the same discussion as the contraception discussion, the pulse oximetry. Morag.
The thing for me is, and I've just put my vote just now, is the staff to see leaflets, and I don't know about everybody else, but I think I would love to see that as a national priority, because I think that's one that would be a big benefit to all the midwives that are currently struggling sometimes to see what the women see. So, but we can speak about it next week when we have a catch up. But I think that'd be a really good one for a national change.
Okay, you can let us know once you've had your internal discussion, and we'll certainly try to progress that. So we've got, as we've kind of already spoken, the contraception and the pulse oximetry. I don't know why that's not in the. No. So here, so it's under discussion, and this was under discussion. So we'll update you as soon as we get any information. Don't think there's any changes to the, certainly from our side, for anything that we've put on hold. There's nothing on kind of fair warning. Support conversations. There's no kind of change in our kind of stance on that, how you can turn on some and not others, how that affects a single pregnancy. It's not something it's on our roadmap to change. The screening note, why do we put that on hold? National discussion update, again, that goes back to January.
Put it because it was on the agenda for about 17 times and none of us had changed it. So in the end up, you were like, let's just park it.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's still in the long grass then, is it?
Yeah.
Birth plan. Oh, well, that's more recent. That's February. But again,
we had a meeting today, so
okay.
Yasmin set up a short life working group. We're on it.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, that can come off the on hold, I guess.
Yeah, I will take that too. Okay. Should be able to. Yeah. Oh, what happened to that? Where did I put it?
Top of the on hold group. Yeah.
Got it. I can't see. I should be able to just move that board, shouldn't I? Move to.
Yeah. Move to board.
Yeah. Maybe up here. There we go. I'm trying to manually move it. Okay. The rest is completed, so don't get anything else. And you're going to have a look at the user groups and let us know who
you
should
just
be on
whizzed
it.
on by VMT.
Did I?
Sorry, I know it says it's on hold, but I just whether or not there is anybody anywhere, any opportunity for us to escalate this, given that was particularly around issues about.
Is he for being?
Oh, somebody's sound on. Oh, there.
This one.
Yeah, issues around.
It's with you, as you know. We can't. Kind of.
Yeah.
You know, we're waiting for them to sign off.
Do you have a contact for Churas who we can ask our heads of midwifery to pester?
I need to go back to the not involved in the project directly, so I'll go back and see. With her.
I just think if they're going to be bringing in this RSV as well, we really need to be getting that up and running, because we were also not sure about putting in a change request, because we don't know whether or not at the moment RSV isn't an option within the maternity vaccination note. Potentially we're going to be giving it to mums. It might be to babies. They've not decided yet. I'm at a meeting in 3 minutes, so that's on my things to ask if anybody's made any decisions about that. But we were wondering, would it be proactive to put in a change request to add it to the drop down, so that at least we've got somewhere for it to be if we do have to do it, because it is only off a pick list, so we thought that might be a fairly straightforward change. It's just that if we wait while they make a decision, they're then going to want us to start vaccinating 2 weeks later, and we won't have anywhere to write it.
It's kind of bigger than that, because it's not part of the interface at the moment, so there'll be no message of that vaccination coming over, and that's not what they're testing. That's not what we're waiting to sign off. That's probably a wee bit bigger than just a pick list option. So I think, you can certainly add it to the pick list option, but that doesn't mean it's coming in the interface. And that's a kind of wider discussion.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Julie?
Sorry, can I just clarify, Jackie? You were meaning within the pick list option within the current note on Badger?
I think that's what Jenny was asking.
Yeah, I was just clarifying.
I was saying, do we put in a request for that just now?
Yeah.
But Jackie was also saying that even if we do have it as a pick list there, if they put it on Churas, it's not included in the coding that would pull it through on the interface. So, but at least it'd give us somewhere to write it, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. At this point in time, I believe the date branded around was August. And we are potentially going to be in a reasonably sticky position. So take the VMT out of the equation at the moment and say that's not in the current spec for testing an interface, but as a quick solution for, well, it's not going to be quick, is it? Because it's never quick, but is there merit in having on the vaccination note in Badger a drop down for RSV? So if we have to start giving it quickly, at least we know the changes in the system, it's going to come, even if that can then get through before the VMT is signed off, because we all know we've been waiting on this for ages.
2 years.
Yeah, and we are likely to have to start doing something before we get any progress.
Yeah.
Yasmin?
Right.
It was just very
sorry,
quickly.
I'm going to have to depart.
See you, Jenny.
See you, Jenny.
I'll see you later. Bye. Bye.
It was just a very quick question on that topic. In terms of, it's not about the RSV thing specifically, but just in terms of trying to do as much as we can to try and get the VMT one in once TURAS have done what they need to do. Where were we at with the IG thing? Was there ever a decision about that? Just because I'm just thinking they could both get work done concurrently if we can try and get the IG stuff lined up as well as getting whatever we need from TURAS. Just thinking of trying to get things done quickly. Was it a requirement for boards to be doing something, or was it going to come from Public Health Scotland? Did that get agreed? I don't know if I missed that.
I think, off the top of my head, I think that was Scottish Government rather than individual board that TURAS would have IG from, but I'll double check.
I know our IG were quite keen to, they were saying if it's something that all the boards need to do, like they were more than happy to go ahead and start trying to get something together that everybody could use if needed. Just so, yeah, it would be good to know, just then we can start preparing that if we can. It's just one more thing ticked off, isn't it?
I'll double check where that's coming from. Morag?
I was just going to say, Yasmin, if your board's willing to do that, I think that would be really good for us to support it, because I think at some point, I mean, we've just signed off something. I think I saw someone coming in regarding signing off for data being released, and it's come from Public Health Scotland to all the Caldicot Guardians. So I would imagine before this is going to come from Public Health Scotland, I would imagine that it maybe go to the Caldicot Guardians to get signed off at that point. But I suppose if they're already cited on it and have done the work, it'll be hopefully less of a chore for them actually to agree to sign off on it when it comes. So, you know, sometimes how things come directly from Public Health Scotland, and then we're on the back foot.
Okay, we'll confirm who it's coming from first. Maggie, did I see you adding something?
Yeah, I was just looking in the background to see if anybody else had raised anything, you know, because this isn't a Scottish thing that's, you know, specific around looking at vaccinations. And so there is a change request that allows vaccinations women other, and then you can add whatever vaccination. So I was just saying there's already a change in the backlog. Maybe that's an interim step for now. And then, you know, when the interface does come through, it would say RSV or whatever it is could be part of that, and you wouldn't have to do any more config work. It's just a thought, so I thought I'd share it and put that in.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else on anyone's agenda that we haven't covered? Okay. Once Kerry converts this meeting, we'll publish it on the board, and obviously I've taken a couple of actions away with me, so I'll update the board as and when I know about the change request for 67, and I've taken another. The consequences of failover and something more insightful that would be more beneficial to you. So something a bit more detail as to when those decisions are made and why they're made. Julie?
Sorry, I was just going to last minute add in. Thank you for putting my SMR02 one in this release.
You're very welcome.
They're still not happy, and they will never be happy, but I'm happy.
Happy-ish. Let's go for an ish.
Yeah.
Take the small one. Okay. If there's anything else we can do before next call, please don't hesitate to drop us a wee email or reach out. I'm happy to help. And if not, take care, and we'll Morag.
This is just a query rather than anything else. So you know that we're all in a national WhatsApp group, and there's been some chat about Newt 2 and whether or not it's been signed off by a national, the national board. I presume it's an English thing, and I just really to have an understanding. I see it's, you know, it's in as a change request. We're looking to implement it, but equally we've been told, well, there is this chat on this WhatsApp that it's not been signed off by the national board. So I just really, have you any information round about that, or?
Signed off by the national board, meaning who?
Oh, well, I take it it's national board in England, but it's basically saying that the spec has not been agreed. Unless anybody else is on the call has anything more clearer from what that discussion was in the WhatsApp group. But
Maggie, that change is going to be out now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know. So it's in the next release. However, it's a unit setting to switch on, switch off. We're not forcing you to take it. So,
No.
you know, continue with your existing changes.
Because,
It's a BAPM change. So in terms of, I'm not sure, it just mirrors the paper Newt 2 chart that there's currently existing. So I don't know what
So
or
what I've got
where.
here is the specification for Newt 2 is still in development by the national team. Is
So I know
basically
that the specification for Muse 2 is still under, which is different to Newt 2. So in terms of, I would like Newt 2 has been around for a very long time.
Been
like
in neonatal a long time.
probably
hasn't it?
2 years or something, if not longer than that, and being published by BAPM, whereas Muse 2 is on paper and in pilot and not officially being signed off, and we are waiting on the official sign off for that to come before that can be digitalised and brought into BadgerNet. I'm not aware that there's any wider conversations about Newt 2. So if there is, you know, if somebody wants to raise that and come and ask us the direct question, it would be much easier for an answer than on a digital WhatsApp group that excludes us. But as far as I'm aware, that's kind of where we are with those.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an English discussion, because I certainly am aware of what the national board is. But it just when it cut, because we were actively looking at it and seeing how we could roll it out. And obviously I said locally, just let's wait and see what happens. It was really see.
So I mean, it's just similar to saying, you know, National Muse for Scotland. Has that been signed off or not? That was made in alignment, you know, when McQuick brought out the National Muse. It's just been done in the exact same remit of that. I am not aware of any wider conversations about Newt 2. And again, if people don't want to use it, they don't have to switch it on. It's not an enforced system thing.
That's fine.
You know, you could
switch in the unit settings.
You know, you could go back and say, you know, it would make more common sense to actually come back and ask us that question directly, and then we'd be able to answer the question for them, whoever it is that's asking it. But I'm not aware that there's any issues with it.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again. We'll catch up with you soon, but you know where we are if you need us in between times. Okay, thanks for coming.
Lovely to see you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.